Hey guys, I thought I'd do a little bit of impromptu streaming. Firstly, I have set up the camera to be able to see the tablet really well and not my face, so sorry if I'm a bit awkward angled and stuff right now. But I've been working on this piece for the last week, on and off. I've been doing a kind of new workflow. I've been trying to incorporate line work into my pieces more. I'm trying to have another go at environment in a way that doesn't make me miserable. And so far I'm really enjoying it. But at the moment, I mean, we're hours in and I'm still just doing noodly tiny details of lines. So I thought it would be kind of fun to share that process a little bit so that I don't go insane. And then to kind of get me to sit my butt down and work hard. And if you guys have any questions or anything, you're welcome to ask. I'm not going to play any music or anything because, oh my gosh, I can't deal with copyright law and I can't deal with people being like, I don't like this music, and it's too much anxiety for me. So if you've got music, play your own music and I'll just talk over it. So at the moment, I'm just kind of working my way around this painting, just noodling in little details. I've realised that I'm happiest when I'm doing small details on things, and I've just got to be patient and build that up. Because obviously, for an environment like this is like a jungle scene, so it's dripping with foliage and rocks and water and goodness knows what. So I just have to really force myself to sit down and make these shapes and draw the details in. And it's honestly kind of fun, but the temptation is to forget about the overall shapes of the scene and stuff, so I just have to be a bit mindful of that sort of thing. Hi Chloe! I've done on and off live streaming before. I've never done it as schedule. I don't really do well with things as like a requirement. I like to be able to bounce back and forth with what I'm doing in the project I'm working on, so I've never live streamed on a schedule, but I've done it a couple of times. It's might be the first time I've done it on YouTube. I kind of invaded Noah's YouTube channel, and it might be the first time I've done it here. I don't remember doing it here before. You have to excuse me, I've had an irritating, lingering cold for about a week and a half now, and so I'm a bit croaky and spluttery. I apologise. As I was saying before, it's kind of working this way can be quite tricky because obviously it's a very detail-oriented approach. I'm drawing teeny little lines, and we've got a huge environment here to work on. So I do well with kind of, you can see here I've got these like scribbly lines around the outside. I've got underneath like a low opacity value layer, and all this stuff is just kind of helping me to visualize where my lines need to go in order to make sense. It's so easy to just hyper zoom in on detail and just lose sense of the picture as a whole. So I did a lot of preparation before diving in and doing the lines. Oh, I've got some, sorry, I've been ignoring the chat for a moment. I had one person saying something, so I was like, oh, it's okay, I can kind of focus on the drawing, and I look up and I've got like 5 people saying something. Oh no. Right, okay. So, hi everyone who's popping in. Good to see you, Stephen, Kaio. Hey, live streams. Oh my gosh, no, I absolutely don't feel confident streaming on the fly. It took me like an hour just to kind of get everything set up, and I'm looking for the perfect setup on everything. And I'm also a really terrible multitasker, so trying to talk while painting, it's not really the most efficient thing for me to do, I have to admit. But I'm quite extroverted, and so although it's not the best way for me to focus, it's a really good way of getting me to sit down and really enjoy my work. I certainly couldn't get very much done if this is what I did all the time, but it really helps me to mix things up and change my approach sometimes, and trying to incorporate more social, chatty elements into things really helps me kind of get excited to work sometimes. So, yeah, no, I couldn't do it all the time. I don't have so much respect for people who do. I just don't know how they get their brain to do that. I have no idea. I saw someone asking what tablet I'm using. This is my baby. It's a Cintiq. It's I think it's the, oh no, what size is it? Is it 27 or 32 or something like that? I can't remember. No, I do remember what size my tablet was.
Still 32, right?
Right, I couldn't remember which one it was that they did. It's 32. It's big. It's
the big one.
It's big. I love this thing so much. I actually really get on well drawing on screens. I know a lot of people have issues with it. And I spent kind of the first 10 years of doing digital art on an Intuos. I love that thing. That thing still works. Oh my gosh, it's ancient and it still works. But after I started using a Cintiq, which was the Mobile Studio Pro, and that was really good for me. I was living in London and I bounced around flats a lot. I moved house, and trying to move a great big tower of a computer every time was just a nightmare. So I got the little Mobile Studio Pro so I could move around more easily. And since then, I've just really not been able to go back to using the Intuos. I tried a little bit for a while, and it was like someone had cut my hand off. I had no idea what was going on. It's such a disconnect. So I love this thing. Good to see you guys. All right, so I see someone asking about whether I did the value composition first, and that's actually, I can disable this and show you what's going on underneath. So normally when I do a line art, I would just go in with a line art first. But for me, I tend to hyperfixate on details, and I can get so carried away doing the little details that I lose track of everything. And I'm not so confident at just creating lines from like straight from imagination. So I wouldn't have been able to get to this point just on a white canvas, just drawing lines. I really would have struggled with it, and I'd kind of lost my way. So that's the new workflow that I've been trying with this piece. So let's see. This mess has been very informative for me. So this was just a black and white value sketch that I did in a really messy kind of way. I had my perspective grid on, and I just kind of went wild. I like working in loose shapes, but I'm not very good at I guess only focusing on the shape. My brain really works in line. I'm definitely a draftsman more than a painter. And doing this value sketch first just gave me something to draw over. So it made sure that my tendency to forget overall perspective or forget overall shapes and composition, it just means that, let's stick this back on. It means I've got a guideline for making the lines. It's not just a completely intimidating blank canvas. There's like information underneath that it's just showing me where to place lines, basically, and that's been really helpful. I have a tendency to flit back and forth in my process a lot. Naturally, I will just kind of be doing lines now, and what I really want to do is start rendering some of the rocks underneath before I've done the lines elsewhere, and start picking out a colour palette for it and things like that. But I get so lost when I work that way. If I start getting all over the place, I lose track of where I am. Some things get left behind in the painting, and I leave the things I don't want to do, and I don't know how to move forward. So this is me trying to make the process really logical, and like if I can break it down step by step and make it really logical, then it removes that weirdness that art has of like that subjective, I don't actually know something's wrong, but I don't know what. This just means I have a little bit more control, because like if something goes wrong at this point, then we know it's like the value sketch was good, so like that works. If something goes wrong at this point, then it's something to do with the drawing, so I can isolate that and work on that rather than being confused about what precisely I've done wrong. Woohoo, people are talking, yay! Aw, it's a shout out for you, Noah. Noah's actually lurking in the background and doing stuff, and he can see the stream as well, so. Don't know if you heard that, it's very quiet. It was a very quiet, croaky hi. Yeah, the Wacom-ons are insanely expensive. There's actually a lot of good alternatives out there at the moment. I haven't personally tried any, but they are a little bit ludicrous. I have to admit, I was overjoyed to be in a position where I could get one of these. It was, I saw these when I was like a 14-year-old girl, and it's just been one of those dreams of I just really want to own one of these guys, and it was a huge little congratulations when I managed to get one, and that felt really good. But yeah, they are ridiculous, honestly. And you know what, the interiors is fantastic, so. This is actually a scene from the novel I'm writing, The Sum of Our Deeds. These are my characters, Ava and Zelda, just chilling out in here. It's oops, no, my screen. Sorry, it's okay. Everything's okay. They are my protagonists, and this is a little bit. It's not strictly canon, this painting, but it's just a scene I really wanted to paint. So it's set in their world, and there's not specifically a scene in the book that particularly covers this. Although now there might be. Maybe I should write this scene in. But, I always like depicting these quiet moments between the two of them. I just saw Noah posted to the chat. When you see someone appearing in chat, that will be Noah and not me. Yeah, I definitely recommend doing the value sketch underneath. There's something kind of nice about the non-committal, being able to scribble in big blocks, and because obviously pencil is so binary, it's on or off and it's tiny, and trying to make massive composition decisions and trying to remember everything that goes along in like the big picture. If you do the value sketch first, it's like a visual reminder of why you're putting the lines where you're putting them. It's not just it's so easy to get carried away. So I've now done most of the kind of focal points in the environment at this point, and now I've got to do all the, like this bit I've been putting off so much. If I turn off the background, you see it a bit clearer, but there's just all this white space up here, which is essentially kind of like cliffs, like rock face and foliage. I really enjoy doing them. I'm a big fan of just noodling away on foliage and stuff, but it's going to take me hours, and I'm fairly sure I have ADD or something. I should probably go and see someone about that. But trying to force myself to sit down and just focus on tiny little details like that, it is both heaven and hell for me. So anything I can do to make it exciting is a plus. Which is why I'm talking to you guys. It'd be so easy for me right now to just close this down and load up Twitter and whoa, okay, 2 hours have passed. What happened? Aw, hey Kyle and Lindsay. How's it going? Thanks for stopping in. Hope you guys are well. What do you guys do when you've got something like this, like a really long, repetitive task? What kind of things do you guys do to force yourself to sit down and get through them? I tend to find that variety is really good for me. I'm a bit like an excitable puppy, especially when it comes to work. I love novelty and new things and exciting things, and that can be kind of difficult when you've got a thing like this. It's going to take probably about 15 hours to complete the line art, and the novelty gets kind of gets weak after a little while. What kind of things do you guys do to build up novelty and keep yourself focused and excited while you're working?
Maybe that's in the record.
That varies a lot about the reference. So I really, I'm not so great at working imaginatively. This is actually probably the most imaginative I've ever worked. And actually on my other screen, I have, I don't have, I must be really distracted. I normally have, I've got a lot of reference based around kind of cenotes and waterfalls. Normally I reference very heavily, so I will get drawing reference for very specific elements of a painting. This time I'm actually going a little bit imaginative, but I did, in this case I referenced more the overall, so I made sure that the values and perspectives were right. I made sure that the elements that, so things like these plants, they're very generic, but they're based on kind of banana plants. There's bamboo back here, there's palm trees. So I have been referencing, but it's in this case it's been more like research, I guess. I've been learning what kinds of shapes these things make, and then once I figured them out, I'm working imaginatively. But usually I use much more reference. I find environments can be somewhat forgiving, I find. Maybe that's not even true, I don't know. I find it much harder to make up faces and humans and anatomy. I have to research heavily before I do an environment. Once you understand the shapes and the patterns and the fundamentals, you can kind of go a little bit more imaginative, I think. You can push reality a little bit. As long as you would have a good sense of repeating patterns and that sort of thing, I feel like you can have a little bit more fun with it. Whereas humans, humans are humans. If you don't know how to draw a hand, it's going to show. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I could be completely wrong. Okay, I've had a couple more people ask, so I'm going to very briefly mention again. This is a Cintiq. I have no idea what size. It's a big Cintiq. Wacom. I think that this piece is going to be, chaos is quite important to this piece. I'm trying to capture that feeling of a really fertile, lush jungle that's absolutely dripping with life. And in that case, I need to really be adding as much detail with these lines as I can. And it's kind of difficult because the temptation is to really draw the heck out of everything. And I certainly am trying. I'm trying not to rush things too much. But the strength in this piece is going to be more in the overall impression of it. So, like you look at the shrub here. This guy is kind of simple. It's not, I'm not winning any awards for that shrub in particular. But when you zoom out and see it as a whole, it's suddenly much more impressive. So that's kind of the way I'm working on this. I'm trying to remember that, whoa, we're getting kind of funky with the spinning there. Trying to remember that this is it's like the overall impact we're going for, that the lines need to be working as a whole, not necessarily just on their own. Hey, you people. So I really do find it hard to, as I mentioned earlier, I find it really hard to multitask. So while I'm figuring out new stuff that I haven't sketched in underneath, I'm having to go quiet for a sec. Otherwise I'll just scribble nonsense. I really wanted to put Christmas music on for you guys. I know how much you would really appreciate that. Poor Noah's been putting up with it like an absolute trooper, I have to say. When I first played Christmas music, I thought you were going to just like leave the room, but you know, you're actually a pretty good sport. I'm so happy. Absolutely supports my my terrible Christmas music habit. This tree's looking a bit bandy at the moment. Put some more interesting shapes in there. I tend to work very back and forth. I'm not. I don't generally get things right first time. I usually have to chisel details out. So I'll put something down and take a step back and be like, erase bits, add bits, erase bits until suddenly it's kind of in harmony. I'm going to put the canvas a sec. It's going to get confusing up in here. Can you guys actually see that tiny tree that I'm working on? Well back in there, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. There we go. Thanks for jumping in there. Seems like Noah's got you. Perspective group back in there and make sure I'm not getting a bit tunnel vision with this. I kind of want this tree to be a little bit more scrappy. Just got this bigger one behind it, and I want him to be an epic one, but I also don't want him to look just ill. It's been a really fun process trying to find my way to this workflow. I've got an epic painter for a husband, and he's fantastic at environments, fantastic at painting. And all along I've been trying to copy what he does because, you know, you see something working and you try to emulate it. And there's always been this disconnect for me in that I know physically how to do things, but forcing me to sit down and do them has been kind of like pulling teeth. And it was Noah who first noticed that I just really love working in lines. Every opportunity I got, I'd sneak in lines and hope no one noticed. And Noah's like, I don't know why you're hiding these. I was like, I had this weird idea that lines were a crutch. They were just kind of a sketching tool. They weren't for finished paintings. And it might have been like a year and a half ago that Noah first kind of commented on that and was like, well, maybe you should be working in a way that feels good and that you enjoy and not forcing yourself to paint like other people. And I was very stubborn, and I continued to paint like other people, and I still continue to paint like other people. But I'm finally getting to a point where I have the confidence to play with these things a little bit, and it's a lot of fun. It's kind of intimidating, having a husband who is so good at environments and painting. I am currently in his turf, and it's a little bit frightening. I'm like, Noah is the environment guy, and it's a little bit intimidating being on our shared YouTube channel, doing an environment that is so very different from the way that he would approach it. But it is also really nice. It's nice to be in a place where I can do that. It's been a journey, but we're getting there, aren't we? The chat's doing it while since I've got some see you guys. Oh, it's the camera flipped.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so weird, because on my screen it isn't. I'll flip it for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
I have no idea.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's that?
There you go.
That's so weird. It's showing on my screen the other way around, so I went on my way to flip it.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now you're probably all really confused.
Yeah.
Yeah, on my screen it's the other way around. It's all very confusing. YouTube trying to be smart for me. Thanks, YouTube. I've just noticed that I'm not wholly fond of this area up here where we've got, in the foreground we've got this palm tree with leaves sticking down, and in the background we've got this tree. And there's this really irritating gap here that just doesn't read very well, I think. It's like they're afraid to touch each other, and it's kind of making them look more connected than they should be. So I'm going to cheat that a little bit and probably extend the tree in the background a bit to move behind the leaf there. Overlaps are good. I like overlaps. When things are kind of afraid to touch one another, it just makes them look like they're on the same plane. Maybe I'll extend the palm tree down a little bit. So yeah, this is what I mean about my very back and forth way of working. I don't tend to get things perfectly right the first time. I'll put something in and chisel away at it until it's right. In this case, I've got the shape right for the palm tree, but just to make it interact better with the background, I'm now sending the shape down. I've always had a lot of guilt. In fact, I don't tend to get things right first time. So basically, don't do that. Don't be guilty. Don't be like me. Another way in which my streaming helps me is that I'm not eating right now. I'm hungry. And, I'm trying to control my diet a little bit, and snacking is evil for me. I really want to go and eat something, but that requires me leaving you guys, so thanks. Let's see what you guys are up to. I'm not stopped to know in a while. I see you asking about Procreate. There's certainly a lot of professionals who do use Procreate, and they do use it instead of Photoshop. In my experience with it, I do absolutely love it. It's a wonderful program. It's very powerful. For me, it couldn't replace the full computer setup. And that's more just a mental thing. The software is totally capable, I think. But this, like what you see here, is how I like to work. I like to be surrounded by my work. I've got another monitor to the side here. I've got my keyboard, my mouse, and I like to be fully immersed. It's just, I don't know, I guess that's how I grew up, was with like a computer, and I have that mental association that that's where work happens. And then the iPad is kind of here, and it's small and contained, and I can't be inside it like I want to be. And it's just, I think really it's just a mental thing. I think that the software is perfectly capable of being a full, powerful painting setup, but it's just not, it doesn't feel right to me. It feels like, especially, I guess because I'm holding it, I tend to be reclined while using it. I tend to be on the move, so in an environment that I don't associate with hard work. So it just feels like a sketching stand-in for me. It really has its place. I love it for that. But yeah, in terms of being a professional substitute for this setup, for me, probably not. But for other people, I'm pretty convinced that that could work. Yeah, I think I like that a little bit better now. That palm tree very clearly crossing in front of the tree behind it. It looks more, might just move that tangent slightly. It looks more convincing now, I think. Overlaps are crucial for adding depth into this piece. If you stage it so that all of the elements are just barely touching, it kind of gives nothing to cross in front of, and you lose your depth completely. See how that's looking. Okay, so we've got some chaos appearing here now, which is nice. Probably going to draw some rock base and some clinging foliage there, I think. That's actually confusing me right now because I've got in my value sketch, I've got these vines crossing in front. So these are on the foreground layer, and they're the vines that are sweeping across the whole scene. Maybe they're making it kind of hard for me to visualize anything that's going on behind it. So I might just disable that and put some detail in that hole there. I'll just pop into the chat and see what you guys are talking about. I haven't really given Clip Studio Paint the time I should have. No one's been using it. Oh yeah, I think you've mentioned that you've been using it. Yeah, it seems quite powerful. I think it's just because I've been changing setup constantly lately, so I haven't really had the mental energy to commit to trying out another one. But it certainly seems very powerful. And yeah, Noah's done some really nice, you've done lots of your studies with Clip Studio Paint, right?
Yeah. I find it a really nice program to work on. It's really easy. And that coming from somebody who's stubbornly used Photoshop for 15 years.
Yeah,
Something like that.
it's a good sign. So I'm not getting too crazy on the detail back here because I know that I'm going to be drawing vines in front of it, but I just want to put these lines in very lightly as like an indication that there's something going on back there. We don't want the detail to compete with what's going to happen in the foreground, but it's just more than anything like a little bit of, I guess, texture. Just a little bit of information to break up the monotony back there. Like this is what I'm technically drawing right there is kind of foliage on the side of the rocks, but it's basically just scribbly lines, but it reads, I think, we'll see. Especially when I get some colour in there too. I don't want to overcrowd it. It also helps to give some kind of visual cue of where things are. So before this tree was kind of just floating in space, but now there's these lines that are passing behind it. It looks like it belongs somewhere between the rocks and the foreground palm trees, which is where we want it to be. I don't know. Full screen again. Cintiq does that sometimes. It seems to think that my palm wants to full screen. It doesn't. Another rock there. There's a little mushroom tree that I just never got rid of. This would be where I was trying to figure out the shapes of things, and it just stayed. I kind of like the mushroom tree. I just had to get rid of them. This is kind of how I'll figure out a lot of the shapes of things. I try to break down a tree into what it is. So this kind of fits in with the perspective here. So I was making sure that we'd be able to see the underside where it's kind of looking up at it. So this to see the underside and the overall shape of it. But I don't know that I want him there anymore. So I have to say goodbye to him. I kind of like him. Bye, mushroom tree. Okay, we should work on next. Let's switch over here and start doing some more vines. Mix it up a little bit. I haven't touched the figures yet because, like I said earlier, I am not comfortable working on figures without any reference, and I do not have reference for these guys yet. So they're just kind of floating awkwardly, but I will get reference. I see someone asking US or UK, Rachel. I'm not sure what the context of that is, but both. UK in USA. Yeah, both. Is that the sound of Noah leaving?
Slowly.
Slowly, okay. Not leaving permanently. I'll work on a layer above here. I don't really want to obliterate some of the stuff I've done here for certain. These vines are 100% like made up. I didn't reference these. I looked for vine reference and I just couldn't find anything I liked, so I cheated and I made them up. I'm sorry, don't tell anybody. But I just really liked the idea of having these kind of spooky curly lines up here. And so I did that. I feel like as long as you are mindful of how things work, mindful of kind of shapes, perspective, making sure the composition's balanced, and just kind of being sensible, you can kind of cheat a lot of things. Like this is not a real vine. I just want to use it as an excuse to do spooky lines, but it's kind of okay because it's in balance with everything else. So it can sometimes be hard to know where to draw the line between, trying to get perfect realism, but also trying to, enjoy art for what it is. And I think just as long as you are mindful of the rules, that's where you can start passing on. Yeah, I think that leaves are just one of those things you just have to draw a lot of. I wouldn't say that I've studied them super hard. I think I just try to break down the shapes. I try to imagine them as a 3D shape and not just a 2D flat shape, and that can get you a long way. Certainly looking at the different types of leaves you can get as well, so that it's not all just the kind of like this guy. We don't want all leaves to look like that, Sometimes they look like this, or sometimes they're curled over, so you see that shape, and then you see it sticking out underneath. So like that goes a long way just making foliage look convincing. The tendency for people who are kind of just first attempting foliage is to just kind of do everything like this. And it's like, ooh, it's the same leaf over and over and over and over and over again. And that's when you kind of get that weird Photoshoppy copycat kind of look. But trying to think about the ways that shapes could twist and turn and interact with one another, and trying to group things together too. I think that's kind of important when it comes to painting foliage. It's also knowing that knowing how they look together. So being able to draw an individual leaf is important, but then also making sure that you can draw them as a unit and have them looking cohesive. Hi, Noah. He's going. Aw. Thank you for the nice comments, guys. You're all so sweet. Also, thanks for everybody who's stopping by. I've seen that so Carl's heading off, and thank you everyone who's stopping in and leaving comments. I really appreciate it. You guys rock. I'm glad you like my curly, cheaty vines. Let's get some of this curly stuff going between the vines too. So we've got all this stuff happening on the vines, but let's get them kind of curling up together too, to kind of pull them together as a single unit and not such distinctive. See, this is why streaming is awesome. I have no idea how long I've been streaming for. It's really hard to get me to focus on the drawing for longer than about 15 minutes at a time before I just need to wander around and do other stuff. I have a hard time really focusing on a task for longer than 10, 15 minutes at a time. I have no idea how long I've been streaming for, which is wonderful. Thanks, guys, for keeping me accountable and stopping me being lazy. Okay. Some spooky vines. Hi, Kate! I see someone asking about music and stuff. I do normally play something. I normally have music or audiobook or podcast or something. The reason I'm not is because, like I said, I really struggle to focus on more than one thing at a time. And having both drawing going and stream going is just like as much as my brain can handle. If I had something else playing as well while talking to you guys, I'd be a noodle. So I'm just sitting here in silence. Also, like, oh god, I've struggled in the past with people want music in your streams, and then people want a different kind of music in the streams, or people don't like how loud the music or quiet the music is in the streams. So I'm just like, I will just go silent and I'll talk. Then you guys can bring the music. Just like put music on behind me, and then everyone's happy. Everyone gets everything they want. But yeah, no, when I'm on my own, I do Audiobooks are great because they give you something to think about that isn't the drawing, especially for something like this, which is starting to get a little bit repetitive. Giving yourself something else to think about is kind of nice. So audiobooks are great. And then you get the added, like, the reward of being like, oh, I'm also learning or, consuming while I'm creating. And that's kind of a nice feeling. It'd be so hard to find the time for both those things individually. So yeah, and it's kind of an effort to stop listening to something. You have to find the app and close it, and it takes like, it's not long, but it takes like 15 seconds to stop listening to something, which is enough that if you're just going to pick up the phone and browse Twitter, you have enough time to kind of stop and think and realize what you're doing and not do it. That's kind of nice. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I don't know if you guys can't see super well what's going on there. Yeah, I really like the Pomodoro method. I do really well when I break down my tasks into, it's actually something we're going to do a creators chat about, more focusing on input and less on the output. So we've been doing this thing for, gosh, how many weeks now? Look over there. It looks like we've been doing it for 9 weeks of doing a minimum work hour week. So we're not tracking the output, we're tracking how many hours we're putting in. So we're setting minimum targets for ourselves. As long as we hit the hours, it doesn't matter what we've done with them, essentially. It doesn't matter if it took longer or shorter than we expected. As long as we've done the time, then we're doing good. And the Pomodoro technique is a similar kind of thing where you're simply breaking it down each time. You're not like, I'm not allowed to take a break until I've painted the vines, say. You're like, well, I'm going to do 25 minutes and then I'll take a break. That really works well for me. So it just gets me to sit my butt down and start focusing on kind of uncontrollable factors like, oh, this is taking me longer than I thought it would, or, oh gosh, what about this other thing I haven't done? It's all just on the time taken to sit down and do it. And that feels good. I'm glad you guys like the Team Bradley YouTube. I felt like I was stealing his YouTube, but the thing is, I'm more extroverted than Noah, and I love doing stuff like this. And between the two of us, it's just we can bring different things to the table. And, we've got a giddy amount of subscribers to this channel. It's wonderful, and Noah often feels guilty because he's not doing more with it. So we're a team, right? That's what marriage is all about. Yeah, you can ask questions, absolutely. Is that for Creators Chat? I think the Google document is still there. Oh, my artistic influences. I swear this question gives me so much anxiety. I'm supposed to have like a really profound answer. So, I'll give you a little bit of information about my journey, I guess. I was like most teenagers last decade of being obsessed with manga. So, Final Fantasy X specifically was the first piece of media I consumed that kind of blew my mind. I still cry like a baby every time I watch it, and it's just been like, I've played it like 40 times at this point, and I still cry every time. But just the costume designs and the world designs and everything about that just blew my mind. 10-year-old me just thought it was the best thing ever, and still do. She wasn't wrong. But that kind of propelled me down this route of being fascinated by Japan and manga and everything like that. So my teenage years I spent doing a lot of manga. Then probably around about the age of 17, I guess, I started playing World of Warcraft, and then I was very inspired by Blizzard and all that art style. And then when I was about 20, I came across Noah and his artwork. So this is where it gets like towards where we are now. I came across Magic the Gathering. I realized there was a whole game art industry. And then I started expanding more. And I've never had a conventional art education. So my art history still to this day is pretty poor. Noah has to kind of inform me on a lot of things. But that's when I started really paying attention to old masters and things like that. Probably the most important one to me is Muka. Like, oh my gosh, I wish I could draw even a tenth as well as that man. He's an absolute genius. And now I think I think I spent a long time being inspired by classical painters like Bouguereau and like that sort of thing. I loved all that, but like and Sargent. But I think that if I'm honest, that stuff I wanted to have a really impressive art history knowledge and to be inspired by the people that I'm inspired by. Like, does that make sense? Sorry. So the people that I look up to and am inspired by look up to those people and are inspired by them. So I wanted to be inspired by the same people, but honestly these days it's more, it's much more modern stuff that interests me. It's kind of animation and Disney fascinates me. Manga has started to fascinate me again. And I think that's kind of okay. I felt for a while that I was kind of a bad artist because I wasn't super inspired by some of the old masters. But I think that's all right. We're all supposed to have the same influences, otherwise we'd all paint the same, right? What do you guys say? What the hell is going on there? Let's get rid of this. Sorry for whatever's going on there. That was awful. Right, I've done just about everything. I don't know where that guy came from. That was pretty awful. Oh, never experienced that before. Sorry guys, that was awful. Apparently so. I have no idea who that guy is or how we got him, but you know, I reported him, I hid him, I timed him out. So I did just about everything I could think of to tell YouTube to get that guy the hell off my screen. Whew. All right, that's nice. So someone asking about Final Fantasy VII Remake. I probably will. Here's a guilty confession. I never played the original. The first Final Fantasy I played was 10, and I've only ever played onwards from there. I think I had a little go where I played 4 on my phone, but I never actually finished it. So I'm intrigued. I know a lot of people say that 7 was the best, so I'm intrigued to know why, and I feel like I should experience that. Oh man, that like actually shook me up. I just looked over to the comments and saw that weirdo. And it's really messed me up. A little bit like shaken now. I'm kind of scared he's going to come back. I don't know how it's obviously my first time doing it, live streaming this way. I'm not used to dealing with that stuff. Where did he come from? I'm hoping that just, I mean, I clicked every negative thing I could do to him. So I'm hoping that will just stop him from coming back. Hello. I just realised I'm like working over here. The camera's over there, and I'm pushing myself up in this corner. Let's put it over here. Open up to you guys a little bit more. Yeah, you're getting more of this kind of foliage going on there. Let's do that. Bit on a new layer, so I cache what I'm doing. Hi! Yeah, I think I will keep the line art of this piece. I'm rather fond of the lines often before I put any colour on them, so I think I'll probably save it as separate. I really love the idea of making my line art available for people to colour and like doing like a colouring book one day or something like that. So yeah, I tend to keep these things out of hope of them being more one day. See you people. You guys are the best. Thank you. So I can see someone asking. I talked about this earlier, but it's probably worth repeating just in case there's people who weren't here earlier. Someone asking about the using the value sketch underneath. So I really love working in line. I just love hyperfixating on detail, and it's where my happy place is. But it's very easy when you're working that way to get lost and forget the overall purpose of the piece or the fundamentals, the perspective, things like that. And it's something I've really struggled with. I've tried to do line art pieces, but it's really hard for me to focus. And another issue I have, it's a really weird thing, I don't know if other people experience this, but I really can't see if my proportions in the drawing are off until I have values in there. So I'll quite often do a line art drawing, which I love, and then as soon as I start adding values and I start to see the problems in the proportions, and I start to feel the errors in the drawing, which is really frustrating. And so I thought I would, rather than leaving the values till last, I would start off with them. So if I do that here, you get to see my beautiful, ugly value sketch. Here it is. I'm so proud of this mess, you wouldn't believe. But basically it just means I'm not starting with a completely white canvas. It's guiding me through the process here, which is really helpful. It's obviously a very intimidating thing to do lines on a very big full piece like this. This just keeps me grounded, and it's basically, I'm not starting from scratch. I've got some information to work with. So this is working really well for me. It's actually the first time I've done this. I've never done it before, but yeah, I actually really am enjoying it, and I can't believe I've not tried it sooner. I think that the key with an environment like this is just layering elements up, just trying to get the core information in, but then just on top of just adding more and more clutter and chaos. It just makes it look so much more alive. Yeah, the vines are coming together now. These are that. This is more knotting effect, yes. Alright, I just saw that I missed on the chat. Give me 2 seconds to catch up with you guys. It's interesting what you're asking about the line art style, about how you like how it looks, but if you did it this way, you feel like it's wrong. I 100% feel that. I am so used to drawing in a very literal, realistic way, and I still have a lot of guilt about working this way. It feels like there's this horrible narrative in my head that tells me that if I was a real artist, I would be able to do things in a real way, and I would enjoy it that way, and that I'm copping out by doing this more stylized approach. It's taken me a long time to come to terms with that, and I realised that when I can, it's not a case of not being able to do the realistic drawing. I absolutely can, and I'm pleased that I learned, because it means I can shut my head up for a minute. It's not anything to do with not being able to draw in a realistic style. It's a choice. It's a design choice. Not everything in this world is better for being realistic. So much of the media that we consume is stylized. We like aesthetics, and we like design, and we like emotion in a piece. We don't like to consume photographs all the time. We like to consume something different sometimes. And the point of this piece is not to give a photorealistic representation of what these people in a cenote or waterfall would be looking at. Like it's to convey the emotion of it. It's to capture this lush, tropical, overgrown feel. And I want to capture a vibe more than I do a literal photographic representation of it. And to that end, this is much better than realism. That's something I have to remind myself, is that just because I'm not drawing in a realistic way, that doesn't mean it's not better or worse or like whatever. It doesn't work like that. If I were to draw this in a photorealistic way, it would just be different and it wouldn't do what I'm trying to achieve. So that's kind of how I make use of it. There is a feeling of guilt that I should be working more realistically, but I'm kind of like, why? For what reason do I need to be working more realistically? This is capturing exactly what I'm trying to capture and exactly the way I want to capture it. It's telling the story I want it to tell, and most importantly, I'm enjoying it. You know, I'm working harder at it because I'm enjoying it, because it's my voice and I'm saying it the way I want to say it. So it has all the value in the world. Asking about the development of the style is really interesting. This is it's been a bit of a battle for me, which is kind of embarrassing to admit, because for years I've been reading that style shouldn't be a battle, it should be natural, it should come out naturally, just do the best work you can do and your style will emerge. And I knew all that, and it's still been a battle. But actually, you know, they were completely right. It sort of happened accidentally. It's even now kind of a revelation hearing you guys saying that it's a distinctive, well-developed style. I'm like, I've got no idea what I'm doing. I'm just making stuff up. I'm just doing stuff in the way that feels right. And I think that's really what style is. It happens somewhere at the intersection between the things you've learned and the decisions you make. So you learn to do things the best way that you can. You look at how other people are doing things and you kind of emulate some of the things that they do. You're always trying to do the best that you can. And then at some point you kind of realize that you're also entitled to your own opinion, that there are a bajillion different ways of doing a piece of art, a bajillion not like a bajillion number of ways of doing it right. Like there's so many right answers. There is no perfect answer. And once you realize that and you have the confidence to start making decisions and saying no to certain things in your art, that I think is where style starts to happen. It tends to come from not just expanding what you currently do, but also from shutting down some of the things you currently do. I wouldn't say I really had any kind of style until I admitted that painting literally and painting realism all the time kind of made me sad. It was only when I started to pay attention to what I actually enjoyed painting that my style emerged, and people suddenly said, I love your style, I love your line work, and I was like, huh, cool, I got a style, that's pretty neat. So I would say that it's kind of natural to feel like you don't have a style, or that everyone's got it figured out and you don't, or any of that kind of stuff. And I would love to tell you that you shouldn't be worrying about style, that style will find you. But, you know, it's kind of hard when you're on social media and it seems like everyone else has a style. Like, it's really hard to drown that out and to believe that you're going to get there too. But maybe just a little bit of solidarity that you're really not the only one. Most of us still don't feel like we have a style, even when other people see that we do. And I think that the important take home there is that style happens somewhere between the intersection of what we learn and what we decide we want to do. I'm just going to check back on the chat again. Oh, I said glad you guys like the value sketch. It was difficult for me to do. You can see that this is my comfort zone. I love doing lines and stuff, and it was really hard for me to just do this ribbly kind of black and white layout. It was really, I like things that look pretty. I'm a perfectionist. You just take one look at my handwriting and my journal and you can see that I'm one of those people that just loves everything to be perfect and neat. So doing a value sketch like that was really hard. I'm always self-conscious that other people seem to sketch prettier than I do and all that nonsense. So I'm glad you guys like it. Put that, whoa, we're getting a bit funky again. Wait, this Cintiq always seems to rotate when I don't want it to and not rotate when I do. Let's go there. I'm just going to check chat. Oh man, I see someone say, do you have a hotkey set to saving the image? I haven't saved it once since I've been streaming. Don't be me. I'm going to save it now. Thank you. I don't know how many times I have lost things and no one has told me off for not saving more frequently. Like, you know, nobody's perfect. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jessie. Real artist, it doesn't, I don't know. There's this kind of idea of like making it, and that this industry exists in a shade of black and white, and it's so not. Like, there's no real Eureka moment. It's like a series of tiny Eureka moments that, like, they add up, and then you realize that people are looking up to you, and you're like, well, I'm still confused. I know professionals who've been working for 10 years who are still baffled that people look up to them, or that anyone would say that they have style, or, you know, anything like that. And, you know, especially with regard to style, there's a lot of, especially when I was learning, there was a feeling that realism is the only way, and that anyone who's not doing realism is just kind of copping out early, and that realism is the ultimate expression, and it's just nonsense. I found I was like looking at my own artwork and telling myself I had to be more realistic, and I had to be able to paint like a Magic the Gathering artist and all this kind of stuff. And yet when I was just consuming artwork, when I was scrolling through Twitter or Instagram, it was never that I was consuming. I was far more interested in stylized, aesthetic artwork. And it was like I held this strange expectation of myself that I just didn't, I don't know where that came from. It's just silly. We hold ourselves to such silly ideals sometimes, and it's kind of hard to see it sometimes until it's too late, sometimes until you have like a nice little eureka moment. But yeah, people say that there's no such thing as like a real artist, it's not that binary, and they're so right. But our brains can be kind of cruel, and they can tell us things that aren't true, and say that it's a cop-out. That was one that my brain was terrible at, was just, you know, you're just using this as a cop-out. You telling yourself that you're a real artist is a cop-out, and it's just so silly, because it's such an open field, and there's so much you can do with it, and there's so much purpose to different aspects of it. There is no gold standard. We do hold ourselves to silly ideals. That line's a bit chunky. Slimming down a bit. Nice and like kind of uniform there, and just went a bit wonky on that side. Right, I'm going to chat here. Yep, I'm hoping this will upload later. It's my first time doing this, so I'm not really sure, but I'm thinking it will go up onto YouTube. It should be there. Thanks for hanging out. It is not a standalone tablet. It is connected to my computer. That's a Cintiq, and it's my baby. Also, hey, good to see you. All right, back onto the vines. I'm just trying to make sure that the overall weight of these guys is convincing. I think it's okay. I don't know. My mind's eye can be pretty weak sometimes. I have to just kind of commit to doing something, looking at it and going, yeah, no, and then ditching things and redoing them. It's just kind of how I do things. I guess we're rotating. Well. I need to drink more water. I'm just chatting away and I'm not drinking any water. I'm getting myself hoarse. It's like extrovert problems. Guys have to stop me. It is a touchscreen. That's why we're dealing with this wacky twisting. And you see what I said about how it sometimes rotates and sometimes doesn't? Now it's rotating. That's good. All right, I put it back. Stop messing around with it. Ooh, interesting. Talk of goals and stuff. I actually do. I feel like I'm only just getting started with things. One of my hopes, I've been so focused on getting my art to a point where I can, you know, put out my own content, work for companies, stuff like that, that I never really thought about what would happen when my work got to that point. It felt like making it as an artist was the end goal, where really it's the start. It's where you kind of jump off from. And I'm realizing that I, as much as I love art, what I really love is the connection that it gives me to people. It's the talking point, it's the community, and I really want to be pushing my art in a way that allows me to connect with more people. So actually a lot of the goals I'm setting for myself next year is to do more content that is, I mean, like this, live streaming. I want to be doing more mentorship and tutoring. I want to make, kind of hoping of doing more community-driven stuff, things like interviews and anything that connects me with other people is really what I want to be doing in my artwork at this point. Obviously, there's kind of the more general goals that most people who are working in this field have. So things like I want to make my own graphic novel. That's like a pipe dream. It's going to take a long time, and I've not started yet. I have my novel, which I'm working on, which is what this painting is for, and I am most of the way to my first draft with that. I really want to get that published. And you know what? Hopefully next year, I'm going to put out that intention. We'll say yeah. But really, I think my goals at the moment are on finding a way that I can create and also make myself happy. I think that there's almost like there's an expectation in our community that you will reach a certain level and then you'll be a freelancer and you'll work on this list of clients and you'll go to these events. And I really thought that would completely fulfill me until I got there and realised I'm the same person. I still have the same things that make me feel good, the same things I enjoy. And suddenly it was kind of weirdly not enough. And I realised that sitting behind my computer all day, every day drawing, it's not connecting me with people like I want it to. And so I'm going to be trying to find ways to really fulfill myself and let my work bring me closer to other people. Oh, love you too! Oh, asking about the palm rejections. Yeah, I'll be honest, I have quite a bit of an issue with palm rejections. It tends to be that when I want it to, it doesn't read. When I do it, when I don't, it does. Does that make sense? I got all confused as I was saying that. There'll be some times where I'm doing gestures and it won't read them, and there'll be other times where I'm not doing gestures and it will think I'm doing gestures. So yeah, honestly, the palm rejection could be a lot better on this thing. I love it. It's just my baby, but it's a long way from perfect. We love our children even when they're not perfect. I'm actually going to do some work on the value sketch underneath here. I'm starting to find that some of these values, I've drawn them right, but they're not reading very well, so I'm just going to clarify that, kind of both for my sake and yours. I'm just going to push back this stuff a little bit. Just a little bit. And bring these forward again. kind of hard to draw details in when your brain's reading them wrong. Even if you know objectively they're in the right place, it's still just confusing me. I should read it better now. Just ever so slight, but it just makes a difference to me as well. Oh, you guys are the best, thank you. Psychic abilities, palm rejection. It does kind of sound like that, I have to admit. Tell you what, this job would be a lot easier if there were psychic abilities I could harness. Is this going to perform well on social media? Nobody knows. It's kind of nice because you get to strategically place detail when you work this way. It's the same as in paint, but it's kind of fun getting to do that with lines because I'm used to lines being so very precise and somewhat unforgiving. You can't, like I said earlier, a line is binary, it's either there or it's not. But when you have this level of detail in a piece, you do get to station. There is kind of this almost shade of grey in between where, yes, it's there or it's not there, but it's also competing with these other more definite lines that are definitely there, and suddenly it's you get this staging of detail, which means you can kind of be a bit, I guess, sloppy and sketchy with the lines, but it still reads really well. It's the same way that if you were painting, you would have hard and soft edges, or an abundance of detail in one area and then implied detail in another. You get to do the same thing with lines, honestly. So this plant I'm drawing back here, it's super not detailed, but it's more just an indication of there being something there. And I don't want it to have the same clarity as this more central. Woo-hoo! That's what I mean about that random spinning that sometimes happens and sometimes doesn't. We don't want that particular plant in the corner there to compete with what's happening in the middle here, so we don't want to draw it so literally. We kind of want it to be a bit more loose. And it's kind of fun working with line that way. It's not something I'd ever really considered before. Maybe I'm just silly, but it's a very strong possibility. Right, I've got some kind of fantasy plants happening up here. You can see where I just gestured them in a little bit, but I didn't commit to them. So they're kind of, in my head, they're bamboo palms, but that's probably just because I haven't decided between bamboos or palms yet. Probably work on those a little bit. See what you guys say. Oh, yay, thanks for joining. Oh man, I'm sorry, my language skills are lacking. I only do English, and that's a great disappointment in myself. But you guys are welcome to chat in other languages, but I'm not going to be able to respond to you. I'd really love to learn Spanish. It's coming from England. There wasn't really any emphasis on learning Spanish. Our primary languages that we learn over there are mostly French and German. I got pretty good at French, kind of a functional level of French. I wouldn't be able to have deep conversations with somebody, but I can ask where the toilet is. And I really enjoyed learning French, but now I travelled to France once, and it was so useful. But I tend to go to Spanish-speaking countries more these days. Since I moved to America, suddenly Spanish is much more prevalent in a way I hadn't really experienced it before. I really want to learn that one day. Big old pile of things I want to learn, but that one's very high up there. What do you think, guys? Bamboo or palms up there? I just don't know. So I don't know if I should do bamboo or palms. Currently they're mushy bamboo palms. Look up here. Bamboos or palms? I'm gonna ignore them for a little while until I can. You guys can help me come up with a decision there, or maybe one will materialise for me at some point. I'm gonna need a less there. Let's do the box down here. Start braving the foreground a little bit. I've been avoiding it up until now. It's like I was saying, the rest of the piece can get away with being less detailed because we want the emphasis to be all on the foreground lines, which means I've been really avoiding doing foreground lines because they have to be good. So yeah, we just kind of need to like buckle down and do those. Which means I probably should get some drawing reference at some point, especially for the plants, so I'm not very realistic. You are coming up with the same answer I have. I'm like, it's a jungle set palm, but it's kind of like a, like I said, it's like bamboo. I'm like, bamboo palms. I mean, it's fantasy, so can I just make up bamboo palms? I'm like, we can do that, right? Don't make me commit to decisions like that. I'm not going to. Very upsetting situation for me. I can't choose between two pieces of foliage. Love them all. I'm kind of figuring out the shape of the rock here. This is the lines I'm putting down here aren't final. They're more me trying to visualize the 3D shape of the rocks. Something that I've got on Plumeria lately is when I was trying to learn how to draw rocks, I would tend to be like, oh, okay, so this is my rock shape, and that means there needs to be a plane here and like here, and like I'll put a bit missing from it there. And it just never really worked for me. I've been having actually much more success lately with almost like these kind of swoopy lines, which wouldn't really traditionally go with rocks. But I like trying to find the shapes. I'm imagining the way that the rock wraps away and towards us. And it allows me to pull some interesting shapes out of it that my brain didn't really come up with before. It's a bit like thinking out loud. I'm kind of thinking while I'm drawing and imagining and like drawing it and then being like, that could be better, or no, actually that looked right. But yeah, spooky lines on rocks is weirdly kind of been helping me. I don't know why. It's probably some terrible advice, and Noah's probably going to come back and watch this and be like, why did you tell people to put swoopy lines in rocks? And I'm like, I'm sorry. But hey, it's been working for me. Let's see. Bamboo. Yes, thank you, Fred. I'm going to paint bamboo. Asking me to zoom out a bit, how the rocks frame the focus kind of the picture. See. So the focal point kind of keeps changing a little bit. I didn't really like the idea of banging these two right in the middle. It seemed a bit kind of obvious, I guess. Staged, forced, fake. But there just needs to be this framing of the rocks kind of around something. Perspective is going to be like that. But these guys are kind of just off center here. I need to make sure that they're correct in perspective and stuff like that. Might have maybe these plants might kind of overlap them a little bit to kind of make them look a bit tucked away. I kind of like the idea of this piece being quite quite cozy, I guess. And at the moment, the way that it's staged, there's all this kind of chaos and clutter around it, and then kind of in the middle of this stark kind of lake, like just on their own, there's like a point of something in the middle. I kind of like the idea of tucking them to the side slightly and having the foliage overlapping them a bit, so they're part of the noise and the clutter, that they're kind of tucked away and cozy and not exposed to everything else. Does that make sense? Oh yeah, there's going to be more vines. You can see here this dark values. I put more vines in there. Yeah, no, it's going to be more detail, but I've got to get these rocks out. Can't keep dancing around them forever. Oh my gosh, why is this rotating so hyperactive today? Normally I can't make it cooperate, and today it's just like all over the place. Okay. Let's do it. Rocks do not come naturally to me. It's a great source of disappointment for me, because my husband is the rock man. I just can't keep up with that stuff. Have you seen the man? I don't know how he does rocks the way he does, but I think some part of it might be wizardry. It might be. Neither confirm nor deny. But he's like the rock whisperer. So it's always a little bit intimidating for me to attempt to do rocks, because, it's like any loving partner who's very proud of me for my progress, but there must be just a little part of him that dies inside. I refuse to believe otherwise. That was very nice, dear. Oh God, what has she done? Rocks, rocks, rocks. Kind of rocky looking. You proud of myself for that? Might not be the most handsome rock you've ever seen, but kind of looks like a rock. Oh man, Ray, can I just hire you as a coach? Just drink my water and save. I'm going to do both right now. Look at that. Thank you. We'll make a better person of me yet. There's some grassy things going on here. Who doesn't love grassy things? I'll turn that new sketch up a second to make sure I can get some good shapes in. Made this kind of pencil-y looking brush for this piece. I realised that a little bit of texture and imperfection would really help give that more organic look. I didn't really want it to get too clinical and digital looking. I really wanted it to have some of that natural beauty. So I thought a nice scratchy, textury brush would really help add some of that character to it. Aww! I was thinking of doing something like that, adding a little critter. Definitely somebody appearing. Like the idea of like a. I mean, this is a fantasy setting, so like a kind of bush baby, slothy kind of creature just hanging off one of the vines somewhere with his big eyes looking. That'd be pretty cute. I'm a serious artist. The bane of my existence is straight lines. Get that, guys. We'll get through this. That's good enough. I'm just thinking about food. It's really so nice to eat food. Artist gymnastics, seriously. It's like, and this thing especially, I could play around with the settings and just get it in the right place and just like smoothing and stuff like that. But I don't know, this makes you feel like you're on a physical canvas and you just kind of up on it and it's easier, I swear. No, I don't like that one. Where did I go? In doubt, rub it out. You know, at some point I'm going to have to just commit and find some reference to this foreground stuff. I feel kind of guilty about doing that while you guys are here, but I think what I'll do is I'll just turn around, I'll leave this on the screen, and then I'll have your chat up while I'm looking on this other screen, so I'll be able to see what you guys are talking and saying. So I'll still be chatting away, but I'm going to be like over here, out of shot, just like on the other screen. I'll be just a moment. Oh, I'm glad this is relaxing for you. Oops, I minimized it, I didn't mean to. Let's see. All right, just a moment. Sorry. I know, I can put on full screen and look professional and stuff while I take a breather. Ta-da! Oh, you guys are the best. No, it's okay. I'm not leaving. I'm looking for reference. I'm carrying on. But I just need some reference to the plants here and stuff. I've been avoiding it and I'm committing. I've just been doodling and kind of absent-minded, noodling imaginative plants. And I'm like, at some point I should probably commit to doing some real plants. So I'm just looking up tropical foliage and trying to get some ideas. Do you guys have any favourite tropical plants? This is a bit of a challenge for me. I might look at hibiscus, which is kind of more of a flower. That might be kind of fun to get some flowers in there. I've only got leaves at the moment, so. You like human eating plants. Ooh, I have a different back here too. Dyson. I actually never realised I said that out loud, and I have no idea how to pronounce it. I got carried away. Diefenbachia? Someone please help me. Shouldn't be allowed to say things. I'm so glad you guys like the details. Maybe Plumeria. I like those. They're more like trees though, really, aren't they? Oh, we can do a little short, stubby Plumeria tree. That's good. Let's put that in there. See how brave Rachel's feeling. Okay, now I just need to choose where I'm going to put this guy. It's quite detailed. Let's see. I'll actually paint like this for a while, see how we get on. Maybe just stick this Plumeria actually kind of further back. It's quite a big plant, and if I stick it in the foreground, it's going to completely dominate. I think I'll put it maybe here. I think this looks like a good place for another plant. Let's see. Oh no, I'm confused already. I need to take off the screen, I'm sorry. I need to put the perspective grid on to make sure that I'm not messing it up. I'm going to put it at the top of the tree there. And there's quite a short tree, so they're going to have the trunk going like this, I think. Yeah. Plumeria will be there, I think. Yeah, I was saying earlier, I like to get the shapes somewhat right first to make sure it's all in keeping with the perspective. It's so tempting to just dive into drawing the leaves, and it's much more important to get the overall shapes right first. So. Aww, you guys are just going to fill my painting with tiny animals. Noah's going to come back from the gym and be like, I thought you were painting leaves, and now there's just like frogs and otters and God knows what. It would be amazing. Okay, so Plumerias have these weird kind of. I'm just going to stick it up on the screen so you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm going to move it back again after this, otherwise it's going to get away. But. Is that going to work? Ta-da! I'm going to paint one of these. They have these kind of it's like burst type formations. They're like all these kind of puffs of leaves come out in like a burst. So just try and emulate that basically. Wish me luck. Plumerias are the best. They're so tropical. I also love the flowers on them. They're these. I didn't know I painted the flowers ones actually. But they have these 5-petal flowers. The petals all overlap like a spiral. I love them. They're wonderful. Okay, so I think I'm probably going to start by scribbling out these burst shapes, just as like I'm going to place them, and then I can draw them like circles, and then I know when I'm drawing the actual leaves how to sit them all so it doesn't look wrong. It's kind of a difficult kind of a tree to paint. Trying to remind myself to get the perspective right as well, because they're all kind of, they're going to be facing up and away from us. It's kind of absolutely wacky, but oh, actually, probably try to move speed. That looks so tiny. Oh, thanks, guys. Okay, let's move this more here and like in a bit. I see you all right. Let me know if that's really hard to see, and I'll try and work on it. So it's this perspective grid is reminding me that we're kind of looking slightly up at it, so we're going to see the underside of things a little bit, and they're going to be pointing slightly upwards and away from us. So it's going to help me just make sure all my leaves are looking somewhat right. Okay, that might be enough information for me to go with it. We'll see. She goes. I'm absolutely making this up as I go along, by the way. So you might see some choices. We will see how it goes. But hey, it's like an honest insight into how we figure this stuff out, right? I mean, this is in no way rehearsed. I've never before drawn a Plumeria, so you guys are seeing some gold today. So I'm keeping it fairly simple and stylized because in the grand scheme of things, this is like, this guy is tiny back here. We're not going to see him very much, so it doesn't need to be super detailed. I'm also going to chisel it up as I go, so you'll see some back and forth thing happening. So these ones down here are going to be facing us more than, so these ones are all pointing up, this one down here is going to be facing us a bit more. So what's likely going to happen here is the first pass is going to be chaotic and weird looking. And then I will, once I've kind of got these very basic looking leaves down, I will zoom out and take a look at it as a shape and kind of selectively emphasize some of it and downplay other bits. And we'll start to pick out a nice design, well-designed kind of tree. Just take a couple of passes to get it right. So in the first instance, it's just a pile of leaves and it just looks like a mess. I always find it easier to pull something from something rather than something from nothing. So in this case, I'm just giving myself something. It'd be really nice to be able to draw a well-designed tree right off the bat. But realistically, it's easier once I have the shapes down, then I can tweak them and play with them a bit. So you can check the chat. I'm just ignoring you guys. I've been talking away and not actually looking at the chat. I'm really bad at this. So the image itself is, I think it was like 8,000 by 4,000, something like that. I can't remember the exact dimensions, but something like that. I'm well okay with being a Bob Ross figure. Thank you. I mean, I don't tend to work on only one layer, honestly. I try to work on as few layers as possible, because otherwise it gets a bit chaotic and it slows the PC down and stuff. But yeah, no, I'm certainly not. I've got multiple layers here, so it's good. Especially if there's something that I like and then I have to draw on top of it, I will absolutely do a new layer and do it on top. Do I prefer landscapes or interiors? Probably landscapes. My favourite thing to do is painting people. but I'm really not. I haven't done any interiors really. I've done like a couple. I'm just a bit intimidated by them, I guess. It's just one of those things I've never felt a strong connection with, and so I've never paid much attention to it, and thus I'm not super developed at it. So maybe that's something I can work on. Honestly, my razor is much a drawing tool as the paint is. Like I use the brush tool and the eraser tool constantly. I really like the idea of like, I tend to put down, I might have just seen it, I'll do like big scribbly confident lines, and then I'll start to erase back into them with the eraser, and then I'll emphasize things. That's kind of how I paint. It's like I guess a bit in the same way that a sculptor works with clay. They'll have like a block and then they'll refine it down. Kind of how I work with drawing, weirdly. I like refining. Not the kind of person who can lay a line down and just be happy with it reliably. I really like refining details as I go. Oh yeah, I absolutely use a perspective grid. I have not developed a mind's eye for perspective at all yet. The number of times my husband has popped around and gone, perspective's a bit off. It's just not my natural talent. So there's my perspective grid. I will frequently just stick it on and make sure what I'm doing fits in with it. An invaluable tool. Yeah, you can. You're welcome to maybe like send me a message on social media or something like that if you want feedback on a sketch. It tends to be, I get a lot of messages, but I really, really try hard to respond to people where I can. Obviously, my time is limited, and if I respond to everything all the time, then I never get anything done. But I really try hard to help people out where I can. So if you need help with something, you're welcome to shoot me a message somewhere, and I will try and get back to you. Do my best. Getting there. Looking forward to chiseling the details back in. There's so many times you can draw that same leaf shape without losing your mind, but getting there, guys. It's happening. If it's any consolation, I think I suck at landscapes too. The last time I painted an actual landscape was August 2018. This is the first landscape-focused painting that I have done this year, and it's December. So, I mean, I hope that's encouraging in some ways. I do not feel confident with them at all, and it's only recently I'm starting to find a way to work with them that I'm less intimidated by them. We all have our strengths and we all have our weaknesses, and no one is happy doing everything. So don't beat yourself up too much if you feel like you suck at landscapes. I feel like I do too. You can find my work, either go to imrachelbradley.com. That's where I tend to post kind of my finished work. You can also follow me on Instagram and on Twitter on the same handle, so it's I'm Rachel Bradley. That's where probably social media is where I'm most diligent in posting everything in between. My website's more for like my finished stuff. It's more like a portfolio site than anything else. Social media tends to be where I share more insights into what I'm doing. Leaves for days. Thank goodness you guys are here, otherwise I could lose my mind. At some point I should probably take a loo break. Just really do the popping to the toilet for a couple of minutes. Hello, woman. That's charming. Right, I'm going to take a quick break to go to the toilet. I will be back in a couple of minutes. I'll leave it zoomed out like this. Oops, it is. There we go, lovely. I'm going to put a message in the chat so anyone who's not listening to the audio can see that and they can join in. And I will be back in 2. Alrighty, I'm back. Thanks, guys. I saw someone asking any tips on how to begin approaching drawing landscapes and vegetation. It's something I really struggle with. I think that for me, it's important to break it down into groups. So people say about working from big to small. I think that's really important. So obviously the way I started this is with the valley sketch here. And that was my way of kind of making sure that that everything made sense together cohesively as a unit. I think that when you're taking on something as big as a landscape, you have it's really important to stage things well, to group things well, and try to think of things as a unit. So this applies really strongly to foliage. It's important to learn how to draw leaves. It's also important to learn how to draw leaves interacting together, how they group together, the way they cluster. So, and I think the variety as well. So, for example, when we were doing this Plumeria here, I looked at the reference and saw that the leaves are kind of like in a starburst kind of formation together. So it's important to get that grouping of leaves first, to get the overall shape of the tree, then where the leaves are growing, so these kind of starbursts, and then drawing the leaves. So starting big and working small. Same with, so there's palms, say, In this case, it radiates out and then the leaves fold away. So making sure that you get those folds and things, it's really important. So yeah, picture small, get the grouping right, and then kind of work down from there. Okay. Sort of still hitting here, I didn't like it. Yeah. Okay. Where's he there? I think I can remove my sketch of the Plumeria now because it's kind of got most of it down there. See what you guys say. Let's sort of decide where we want animals. It's going to be an animal takeover in my painting. Let's see. So this is where I'm going to start honing down on details and oops, oh gosh, that rotates and kills me. Honing down on details and starting to design those shapes so it's a little bit less kind of literal and more pretty. So one thing I like to do is generally, it's a little bit of a hard and fast rule, it's not always applicable, but I really like the outer outlines to be bolder and stronger than the inner ones. It just helps you read edges better, basically. When you're working in line work, you have less freedom with edges than you do with painting, I think. You just have there are fewer tricks you can do. So this is one where hi Noah! No, it's back.
Hey.
This is one where you can just kind of play with edges a little bit to your advantage. Oh, thanks so much. Wait, that was going to be a heart, but I'm angling it wrong. Okay, the heart. Look at this, guys. I'm saving and I'm drinking water. I'm a changed woman. So with this bolding of the outline, I'm kind of emphasising the fact that there's this bare patch in here, which I really like. I like the patchiness of some trees, the way that, sunlight peeks through them and stuff like that. So by putting those bolder outlines in, it's more obvious where the tree is and where it isn't. So to see inside those bold lines, it's kind of a bit chaotic, and you just kind of read it as leaves. But without those bold lines, it all reads that way. It's not very obvious at all, but it's included and excluded in the silhouette of the tree. So this just allows me to paint a clearer image of, like here, you can see me doing this right now. It was very unclear before exactly what was and what wasn't part of the tree, but I'm starting to chisel this out here is much more obvious. I have to commit to these branches at some point. I'm not as confident in painting branches as I am leaves. We'll get there. Let's see what you guys are saying. Yes, I know Bradley's wife. My name's Rachel, if you guys don't know. How did you find the stream? Wait, I'm now confused. You've been hanging out here for a while, that's amazing. It's all good. It's all good. I'm using, it's kind of a custom pencil brush. I literally made it the other day, and it's basically just a hard round brush with some texture in it, and it really just, it's just a nice textured way of working. Just adds a little bit of that organic variety into my brush strokes that's so important in making something look alive, especially like a chaotic jungle scene like this. If it's too perfect, it just looks a bit strange. Excuse me. Why did it cough to linger so much? It's been over a week since I first started coughing. I'm just fine, but this cough won't go away. I'm using that more. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, I can get it. Look coherent. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, a little while ago, Noah kind of rebranded his YouTube page as Team Bradley so that we can both use it. It seemed silly when we do so much together for me to start building up my own specific YouTube presence, doing exactly the kind of thing that we do together. The work that we do benefits one another. It seemed really dumb for me to start streaming into the void and building up a presence on my own when I could just as easily be contributing towards Team Bradley. It's important for me to have my own kind of brand and presence online and stuff. But when I can reach more people doing this sort of thing through Team Bradley, it's kind of a bit of a no-brainer, really. So yeah, we do a lot of stuff together now, which is kind of nice. Yeah. Aw, thanks. I'm pretty chuffed with how it's turning out, actually. I have to admit, I was a little bit intimidated when I was like, how the heck am I going to draw this through? I'm glad I didn't completely bungle it. Just that feeling that you're not going to know how to do it never really goes away. It's something that when I first started studying art and trying to get better and get professional, I thought that I would reach a point where I could always trust my ability to do something. And you certainly do get better at being able to win things and apply the skills that you've learned to new things. But I can't say that you ever really feel like you've got this. It's always a little bit daunting. I find that both depressing and encouraging. I'm going to get a branch. I'm trying to decide, actually, maybe this is the right way to start without it. I kind of like the idea of putting a branch running through here. Actually, that looks kind of good. Just need to figure it out on like a scribbly brush stroke. But yeah, I don't know if that space is left empty or not. Stick that over there, maybe. All right. Cool. Probably start adding some flowers to it now, I guess. How do we do flowers? I'm going to make a backup of this because it's going to, oops, sorry, that's the oven. It's going to require me to erase some of my line art to get the flowers in there, so I don't want to ruin it. So it looks like the flowers kind of grow out of these bunches and sort of a little bit distant from them, so not perfectly in the centre, but kind of on stems and stalks. Let's see how this reads. It'll probably read clearer, honestly, when there's colour in there. It's like a giant misshapen pear. Oh no, let's try that again. Actually, now's a good time to check the cat. Oh, thanks. Yeah, we need more British representation. Do I study textures? Can you clarify what you mean by that, particularly? Oh, I'm glad you think so, about the keeping the line work kind of simple and distinct. You'll actually see that as I'm doing these flowers, I kind of had images of perfectly drawing the flowers, but I'm realizing that, let's zoom out. There's my Plumeria. It's this big. And actually what is working way better is just chiseling into the line work and just leaving these blank white spaces where the flowers would be. So you can see it's very subtle, but it's actually kind of more dramatic, I think, than perfectly drawing all those flowers in. So this bunch here and this bunch here, and it will look pretty good, I think, when there's colour in there. Let's do one here. So a lot of this is it's a lot of design work, because obviously I could draw those flowers perfectly and put every petal in there and everything like that. But it would start conflicting with the leaves I put in, and honestly it wouldn't read any different. You just end up with a kind of dark, murky mess. Sometimes I think it's way more important to get like a strong silhouette and good contrast on something, and then then you can work into details if you want to. But it's so subtle. But I think it's when it's this scale, when it's so tiny, you just it's better to make strong, bold decisions than kind of get too into detail and just lose what it's trying to say. It'll be good enough now, I'll be able to pick out much more detail in that when I'm colouring it. But I think it's probably good enough back there. My little Plumeria. I kind of wish I'd drawn him here now. It's so much better than this tree that I just made up. Oh well, it's all good. Could stick him in there, It's kind of cheating, isn't it? I don't know. Oh, I'm just seeing your messages. Let me catch up. Oh, I'm not surprised. Being weather in the UK is always terrible. It's actually one of my favourite things about living here in America. I live in Virginia, and the weather is just generally so much sunnier. It gets way hotter and way colder, But there is so much more sunshine here, and it just makes me feel so much better. I'm really, really fickle when it comes to weather, and if it's grey outside, I'm grey inside. So just having some sunshine here makes so much of a difference. I'm glad you guys still love my bamboo. You know what? I think we might be about ready to wind the stream down now, I think. I've been going for a while. Whoa, 2 hours and 10 minutes. Proud of me. I'm proud of you guys for sticking at it too. You guys have been absolutely wonderful, the perfect company to get me through the tediousness of, or tedium's the right word, the tedium of painting leaf by leaf. So, thank you for hanging out, guys. You've been wonderful company. Noah, they saw you. It was a Noah sighting. It's been known to happen. Oh, it always happens. There's always someone who comes in to the end. I'm sorry. Well, it will be available, I think, afterwards. I think that's how it works. We'll make sure that happens. But it's been really fun hanging out with you guys. You've been awesome. Thank you so much for pushing me through this and reminding me to save and drink water, and just helping me to keep my erratic brain on the task at hand. And you guys are the best. Alrighty, I'll catch you guys later.